Have you ever had a moment where you felt struck by pure inspiration? I mean, a perfect idea that just lands right in your lap, like a literal gift from the universe. You're excited, you see the potential, you're ready to go, but then about 5 seconds later, the processing starts.
Oh, yeah, the dreaded overthinking phase.
Exactly. You start analyzing the risks, running the numbers in your head, and suddenly that perfect, shiny idea turns into this tangled mess of anxiety and doubt. You basically short circuit your own brilliance before you've even started.
It's such a universal human experience. It's that really frustrating gap between the initial spark of an idea and the actual execution of it.
Yeah, and usually we just shrug and call that, life or self-sabotage. But for today's deep dive, we are looking at some source material that suggests there is actually a very specific mechanics to that process. And we aren't looking at a psychology textbook or a business article today.
No, we have two really fascinating hand-drawn documents on the table.
Yeah.
They honestly look like, well, like engineering schematics for the human soul.
They really do. It's such an unusual combination of disciplines.
Right, because on one hand, you have these high-level spiritual concepts. There are references to the fruit of the spirit, consciousness, the nature of existence. But then they are mapped out using these rigid electrical engineering metaphors. I mean, we're talking circuit boards, feedback loops, voltage, and GFI switches.
And grammatical wordplay. We
Yeah.
can't forget the grammar on these charts. So our mission today for you listening is to decode this specific metaphysical framework. We want to understand this diagram's central argument, which is really, how do we move from infinite potential to a real, tangible harvest without blowing the fuse in our own brains?
It's essentially a user manual for the circuitry of the self. So let's just jump right in.
Let's start with the first document. It's this complex vertical flow chart. It's circular, almost like a figure eight that's been stretched out vertically. At the very top, there's this bubble labeled the infinite field of potential, or possibilities,
And right next to it, the author has scribbled a very telling phrase. It says, ideas gift store.
which I love. Ideas gift store. It implies that ideas aren't things we, grind out in a factory inside our heads. They're things we shop for, or rather, that we just receive.
Right. It suggests that inspiration is entirely external to our ego. It's just sitting there in this infinite field waiting to be picked up. And the chart actually lists the inventory of this story. It lists the classic fruit of the spirit. So you have love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness.
So in this model, those aren't just emotions that we try to manufacture on a good day.
No, and that's a really key distinction here. In this framework, those qualities are the actual atmosphere of the source. They are static potential. They exist whether you feel them or not, just like items sitting on a shelf. The diagram links all of this to consciousness and awareness. It's pure, unadulterated potential.
But potential has to move to become anything, right? You can't just live in the gift shop forever. And that's where the diagram directs us downward. We see an arrow moving from that infinite field down to a box labeled thought. And the author calls this the gift.
Okay, so the thought is the gift. It's the package you've taken off the shelf. But then, right below that, it flows into feelings. And here's the metaphor that really caught my eye. The diagram labels feelings as the unwrapped gift.
Man, that's a powerful image. A thought is just a cardboard box. You don't really know what it is until you feel it.
Exactly. The feeling is the unwrapping. It's where the abstract concept becomes personal to you. You don't just think about, say, a new career path. You feel the excitement or the terror of it. That visceral reaction is you unwrapping the potential.
But immediately after you unwrap this gift, after you have the thought and the feeling, the diagram introduces a warning. It's a command, really. Written right there in the center is the phrase, take every thought captive.
Yeah, this is the first real checkpoint. It's a reference to a biblical principle, but in this mechanical context, it acts like a quality control filter on a factory line. You've unwrapped the gift, you're feeling the rush of it, but before you let that energy run through the rest of your nervous system, you have to grab it. You have to inspect it.
Because what comes next is the most dangerous part of the machine. If we follow the arrows down, we hit a literal box drawn on the page. It's labeled Circuit Box GFI.
A ground fault interrupter.
Right, like the outlet in your bathroom, the one with the little reset button that always pops when you use the hairdryer and the toaster at the same time. Not that you do that in the bathroom, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, please don't do that. But yes, exactly. For those who aren't electrical engineers, a GFI is designed to detect an imbalance in the electrical current. If the power going out doesn't match the power coming back, meaning the electricity is leaking somewhere it shouldn't, like through water or through a person, it cuts the power instantly. It saves you from electrocution.
So applying that to this soul diagram, we have this unwrapped gift of feeling flowing into our internal circuit box. The input is literally labeled intake. And what is flowing through it? The diagram says emotions?
And look at how the author defines emotions in the margins here. They break the word down. Emotion. Energy in motion.
Emotion.
Energy in motion. Precisely. So you have this high voltage energy, this energy in motion flowing from your feelings into your internal circuit box. And the diagram puts it bluntly. It says, it is here that the circuit is blown or flows through.
This was the aha moment for me. The GFI isn't there to stop the flow. It's there to ensure the flow is safe. But the big question is, what causes it to blow? What actually trips the breaker in the human mind?
That's the key to the whole thing. Clustered right around the circuit box, the author has written 3 words: thinking, perception, and self-control.
Wait. We already had thought earlier, up at the top near the gift. Now we have thinking down here at the circuit breaker.
Yes, and the distinction there is vital. In this framework, thought is the initial spark. It's the perfect gift from the infinite. Thinking is what we do with it. Thinking is the processing, the chewing on it, the analyzing. It's our perception of the gift.
Oh, I see. So the thought is perfect because it comes from the source. But my thinking, my perception of that thought is the volatile variable. So if I unwrap a gift, let's say a massive promotion at work, and my thinking perceives it as a threat.
Click. You trip the breaker. Your perception identifies a fault. You think, I'm not ready or I'll fail. The GFI detects that your internal system can't handle the voltage of the gift. Danger, danger. And the system shuts down to protect itself. That's exactly when we get overwhelmed, anxious, or burnt out. We've blown the GFI.
Wow, so the shutdown is actually a protective mechanism.
Exactly. If you tried to run high voltage through a system that wasn't grounded, meaning a mind that is just spiraling in fear, you'd fry the wires. So the GFI cuts the power. The energy stops dead.
But let's say we don't blow it. Let's say we're Zen masters. We take the thought captive, our perception is perfectly aligned, and the GFI stays open. Where does the energy go then?
Then it travels down to the bottom loop of the diagram. This is the return path. And the text here is really beautiful. It says attitude of gratitude and vibrational alignment.
I see that. It flows through love, joy, peace, the exact same fruits from the top gift shop, but now they are labeled my own vibrational alignment. It's like we finally downloaded the file effectively.
And notice the term alignment there. In electrical terms, resistance creates heat and loss. Alignment implies zero resistance. Gratitude, in this model at least, isn't just saying thank you to be polite. It's a state of superconductivity. It allows the current to return safely to the source.
And the loop curves back up, labeled sent back, returning all the way to the top. It connects to love, light, authenticity, and current vibration. It completes the entire circuit.
And that gratitude recharges the source, or rather, it keeps our connection to the source wide open, readying us for the very next gift. It's a fully sustainable ecosystem.
So a functioning human, according to this napkin sketch, is a continuous loop. We receive an idea, we unwrap it into feeling, we pass it through the GFI of our perception without tripping the breaker, and we return it as gratitude.
Ideally.
But the reality is, most of us are standing in the bathroom with the lights off because we tripped the GFI 5 minutes ago.
Constantly. We do it constantly. And to understand why we keep tripping it, we really need to look at the second document, because source 1 tells us where the break happens at the circuit box. But source 2 explains the actual identity crisis that causes the short circuit in the first place.
Let's pivot to that then. Source number 2. This one is a matrix, a comparative table with 3 columns. It basically organizes all of existence into 3 distinct categories.
Yeah, it's a be, do, me framework.
Okay, walk us through the columns.
So imagine 3 vertical lanes. The first column on the left is labeled the ocean and be. The middle column is the current and do. And the third column on the right is me.
Ocean, current, me. I like the water analogy there. It holds up well alongside the electrical stuff from the first document.
It does. Now, the most striking thing is the wordplay in the first 2 columns. Column 1, the source, is labeled I am.
I am, a statement of being.
Right. And under that, it lists creator, constant, and consistent. This aligns perfectly with the infinite field from the first diagram. It's the unshakable truth. It's the bedrock of reality.
And then we look at column 2, the middle column. It's not I am. It's labeled AMI.
The inversion, AMI. It turns the definitive statement into a question.
Or perhaps possibility.
Or a doubt. It's the realm of questioning. The author defines this AMI column as self, creation, variable, and choice.
That is a huge distinction. The IAM is the constant. The AMI is the variable.
Yes, and here is where it gets physically interesting and honestly a bit radical. In this middle AMI column, the column of variables, choices, and doubts, the authors has placed the five senses.
Whoa. So our sight, hearing, touch, our entire physical interface with reality is located in the variable column.
Correct, which implies that what we see and hear isn't the constant truth of column 1, it's just the variable interpretation of column 2.
Oh, that explains why the GFI blows. If my five senses are feeding me data that completely contradicts the constant, like if I look at my bank account and see 0, my senses say lack, but the source of the IMM says potential. That conflict is the surge.
Exactly. You're letting the variable override the constant. You are looking at the middle column and thinking it's the solid truth. The AMI asks, am I broke? Am I a failure? Am I unsafe? Those questions create intense resistance in the wire because they contradict the constant perfect flow of the IM.
And so the breaker trips to save you from the cognitive dissonance.
Precisely. And look at the third column. This is the result column, labeled me.
There's a math equation here, literally written out at the top of the column. IMM plus AMI equals WE.
We. And underneath WE, it lists harvest, result, expansion, and scene or materialization.
So me, my life, my results, my harvest is simply the sum of the constant IM plus my variable AMA.
That's the formula. And since IM is constant, it never changes. It's always love, goodness, potential. The only thing that changes the result is you. It's the AMI.
That is both incredibly empowering and pretty terrifying.
It really is. It puts the responsibilities squarely on the AMI, on the processing. If the input is always 100 volts of pure potential and the output is a flickering light bulb, the problem isn't the power plant, it's your wiring.
Let's look at the bottom half of this table because the metaphors shift again here from electricity and water to gardening.
Right. It's a classic metaphor, but it's mapped strictly to these three columns. Column 1, the constant, is the seed. Column 2, the variable, is the gardener. And column 3, the result, is the harvest.
I want to connect this back to the first diagram for a second. If column 2 is the gardener, and column 2 is also where thinking and energy and motion live, then the gardener is the guy standing at the circuit box.
That's the connection. The gardener is the GFI operator. The seed, which is the idea or the gift, is perfect. It comes from the IAM. But the gardener has to tend to it. He has to practice self-control. He has to ensure the energy and motion, the water, the sun doesn't drown the seed or scorch it.
And if the gardener does his job, if the circuit flows, we get column 3, the harvest. But look at what's listed under harvest in the third column. We see result, expansion, and then belief.
Yeah, that stopped me in my tracks too. Usually we think belief is the starting point. You know, the old self-help line, you have to believe it to achieve it.
Right. You believe first, then you get the result.
But this chart lists belief and faith and alignment in the result column, the third column.
So belief isn't the fuel.
No, in this model, belief is the outcome. Belief is what happens after you've successfully run the circuit. You receive the idea, you process it correctly through your AMI, you see the harvest, and that solidifies the belief.
That totally flips the script. It suggests we don't need to force ourselves to believe harder to make things work. We just need to focus on the process, the AMI column, the thinking and perception, and let the belief be the natural fruit of that alignment.
It takes all the pressure off faith as some exhausting mental struggle and puts the focus on alignment as a mechanical process. If you tend the garden properly, the belief just grows naturally along with the harvest.
There's another detail in the middle column, the current or do column that we skipped over. It lists physical matter and material.
Yes, right there in the variable column.
Why is physical matter in the middle? Shouldn't matter be the result, like the harvest?
You would certainly think so. We usually think, I want the car, the house, the money. Those are the end goals. But by placing physical matter in the middle, alongside thinking in the five senses, the source is suggesting that physical reality is just the medium we work with. It's the clay. It's not the final product at all. It's just the stuff the gardener uses.
That's deep. So the money in my hand, the car I drive, the body I inhabit, that's all just current. It's energy in motion. It's variable. It's not the final me.
It's just part of the AMI equation. It's the raw material you're using to create the we. It really helps detach you from materialism a bit. If physical matter is just a variable in the middle column, it's completely malleable. It changes based on the IAM plus AMI equation.
That equation keeps coming back to me. IAM plus AMI equals WE.
It's a wonderfully unified view of existence. There is no separation between the source and the individual, provided the circuit is open. We implies a partnership. You aren't working for the universe. You're working as a component of it.
But only if you don't blow the GFI.
Right. Only if you don't blow the GFI.
This brings us right back to that practical warning from source 1. Take every thought captive. If we look at the whole picture now, that instruction seems to be the absolute most critical step in the entire life cycle.
It is the moment of agency. You can't control the ideas. Gift store inspiration strikes when it strikes. And you can't really control the harvest. There's just some math. The only place you have total dominion is that split second between feeling and action. That moment at the circuit box.
The AMI moment. Am I interpreting this fear as a stop sign or as excitement? Am I interpreting this setback as failure or as data?
Precisely. That is the perception label on the GFI box. If your perception is, this is too much, I'm not enough, the GFI detects a fault. The current from the IAM, which is infinite, clashes with the constriction of the AMI, which is fearful. Zap. Power down.
And the harvest is lost. Or rather, the harvest becomes a reflection of the blown circuit.
Right. We still get a we, but it's a we defined by resistance. A we of frustration.
So the ultimate goal is flow through. To let that high-voltage inspiration pass through our thinking and emotions without resistance, creating that attitude of gratitude.
And notice the bottom of source 1 again. Attitude of gratitude isn't just being polite to the universe. It's described as vibrational alignment. In this electrical metaphor, gratitude is the superconductor. It offers zero resistance.
So when you're truly grateful, you're basically a copper wire with no insulation issues. The power just screams through you.
And illuminates everything around you.
It's fascinating how these two napkin sketches, which were probably drawn in a coffee shop or a late-night study session, managed to synthesize quantum mechanics, theology, and electrical engineering into one coherent lifestyle guide.
It's the power of visual thinking. It forces you to see the connections that words sometimes hide. When you see thinking explicitly placed in the variable column, you stop trusting your negative thoughts so much. You realize, oh, that's just the faulty wiring in the am I column. That's not the I am truth.
It gives you permission to debug your own brain.
Exactly. You become the technician of your own soul. You stop thinking I am broken and start thinking, my settings are wrong.
That is a massive shift in perspective. Instead of a moral failure, it's just a maintenance issue.
Exactly.
So let's bring this deep dive in for a landing. We've looked at the circuit of the soul and the equation of identity.
We've seen that we are conduits for an infinite potential, but we are also the gatekeepers of that flow.
The sources present a philosophy where we are the variable interacting with a constant. Our thinking isn't the source of truth. It's a mechanism, a GFI, that manages the flow.
The takeaway is incredibly clear. The danger zone is the circuit box. The point of failure isn't the size of the dream or the difficulty of the outside world. The point of failure is our perception. We have to ensure our self-control and thinking don't blow the circuit before the harvest can manifest.
We need to keep the AMI aligned perfectly with the IM.
That's the daily work.
I want to leave everyone with one final thought, something for you to chew on that comes directly from that equation. IM plus AMI equals WE.
It's the core of the whole thing.
If the IMM, the source, the universe, God, however you define it, is truly constant and consistent, as the chart says, and if your life today is the WE result, then every single thing you are experiencing right now is entirely defined by the AMI.
The
variable. You can't blame the source. The source is constant. You can only look at the conduit. So the question isn't, why is this happening to me? The question is, am I operating as a clear conduit, or is my circuit breaker constantly tripping?
Check your wiring.
Check your wiring indeed. Thanks for diving in with us.
See you next time.